In this episode, a car you've probably never heard of, a matte pink Italian, and some really cool skin. Welcome to episode 160 of the We Are Auto Show. What's up, Derek?
Mr. Michael Rowell, I was listening to a podcast recently, and I heard an interview with a car company CEO, and I had never heard of the car company.
That's odd, because we hear of most of them.
Have you heard of a car company called Aptera? A-P-T-A-R-A.
Aptera. I've heard of an Aperta, which is a 458 Speciale Aperta with no roof, but
no
not
relation
Aptera.
To Ferrari or Italy or anything. American-based company.
So is it going to be the second most recalled car of this year?
No.
Sorry. Couldn't resist. I could not resist.
The reason it will not be is because this car basically has nothing in it, which is its best and worst thing about it. Let's talk about
I'm
Aptera.
confused.
So first, what I'm going to do is show you an image of what an Aptera looks like. And you can explain this to the audio only listeners.
This looks like a hovercraft. It looks like a flying car.
It kind of does look like a flying car.
To me, it looks like a pod with like exposed suspension components like out of an F1 car with like aero wheel cover things, and it looks like it's I don't know. It's
a very small car. It can only fit two people inside of it. It is a three-wheeled vehicle, which is also kind of interesting.
No. I don't like this.
It's very swoopy, aerodynamic.
It looks like a car from the Jetsons.
It does.
It looks like a Jetson car. Seriously, it looks just like it's out of the Jetsons.
Right. This is a car company based in California.
Nuh-uh.
Yeah.
That couldn't come from California. No way.
That's the only place it could come from, to be honest. It looks quite like a California car. But let's start talking about some technical details about it, because it is a fascinating car.
Okay.
First, we're going to kick it off. What do you think the coefficient of drag this vehicle has?
Like nothing.
Okay, it's so nothing that this has a lower CD, which is coefficient of drag, than one mirror on an F-150.
Holy shit.
The mirror, one of them.
Wow. So this is more efficient than a cow.
Way more efficient than a cow. Like 1,000,000 times more efficient than a cow.
I'd love to put this in a wind tunnel next to a Jeep. Just to see. Just to see.
There's nothing to see. The Jeep would it would go away.
But
and this would take off like a Jetsons car. So let me give you a couple stats about it. The Aptera, a Ford F-150, put this into perspective, has a CD of 0.6 or 0.46, so nearly a half, which is not good. A Tesla Model 3 has a 0.23, so 23, whereas Ford is at 48. The Aptera is at 13. Very low coefficient of drag.
There's like no coefficient of drag there.
The way this car
looks slippery.
It's very, very slippery. The way this car was created was figure out the most slippery possible shape to fit two people in and put wheels on. Build that.
Yeah, but how did that get approved at NHTSA?
I don't know about that yet.
Because
they're not yet producing these and giving them to people. This is a concept car. Well, it's past the concept car state. It's into testing, and they have a factory that is being built.
I hope I never see one.
You maybe. Okay, let me hit you with this stat. What do you think the range is? It is an EV.
So, to answer that question, I need to think back in my memory banks, because I remember you and I have talked about how do EVs gain range. Mm-hmm. You can either gain range by having one of three ways, right? Or a combination of which. Mm-hmm. You could get a giant battery pack, such as the Hummer EV.
More power.
Yep. Lots of batteries to store energy. Or you could make it much lighter.
Indeed.
Right? or you could make it much slipperier. Those are, from my understanding, the 3 different ways you get range, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Hummer has decent range because it just has the hugest, most amount of battery in the world.
Just
right?
bulk, baby. Muscle.
Yeah, exactly. But it's the least slippery looking thing I've ever seen.
It's a brick.
It is a giant, fat fucking brick. It is so ugly, too. So that kind of does away with the other 2 options, right?
Right.
I would imagine that this car has... It doesn't look big enough to have a big battery, so it can't be big battery. Am I correct assuming there?
It's a 100 kilowatt hour battery. It's more than a Tesla Model 3.
Oh, so it's bigger than I thought it was going to be. So okay, that actually changes things dramatically for my guess here. So Model 3 gets what, 300-something-ish miles range?
Around 300.
300, okay. And this has got more battery and way slipperier.
Way less drag.
So I'm going to say if a Model 3 is 300-ish miles range and has a smaller battery, I'm going to call this double, 600.
1,000.
Holy shit.
1,000 miles of range.
That's a lot of range.
That is way more than any internal combustion car has.
Not a semi, but yes. Semis do 2,000. Remember?
On a tank? You might be right about that.
We talked about that.
But it's a semi. This
Correct.
is a 2-seater little slippery thing.
Correct.
1,000 miles of range gets people talking.
That gets a lot of people talking.
That's fascinating.
That is very fascinating, although it's ugly as sin.
It's not great looking, but they're not going for looks. They're going for functionality. Now, if we look at other aspects, I'm going to try to find a good photo here for you. That front that is all black there, all solar panels.
I would imagine. I was going to ask, is there any solar?
There is. It will get you, from what I've heard, around 40 miles a day of solar. Okay, you're the EV guy. Mm-hmm.
From my understanding, most people that have solar on an EV are getting like 8 miles of range.
Yeah, I harp on it all the time. It's so impractical to put solar on like a Tesla Model 3. It would get you like 4 miles a day. You don't have enough surface area. But if you're extremely light and extremely slippery, you don't need much energy to go anywhere. Right? This is getting 1,000 miles of range with the same battery that a Tesla Model 3 is, which means it's 2/3 as slippery or has way less rolling friction or is way lighter, right? And that's what they're doing here. So solar on this car matters, which is fascinating.
Because a little bit of energy goes really far on this thing.
You don't need a lot. So the average American commutes back and forth to work 41 miles a day. This gets you 40 miles a day in sunshine. Well,
that does get people talking.
A free commute is an interesting idea.
It is an interesting idea.
Yes. A couple other stats. If you were to charge this at a Tesla supercharger or an equivalent DC fast charger, in an hour, you get 500 miles.
That's better.
That's fast. If you were to charge it at home, in an hour, you get around 13 miles an hour. But that's plugging into your standard outlet. That's not a 240 volt system. That's a 120 volt system. So if you plug your computer into the same charge port that you put this, you will actually get meaningful miles out of it. If you plug a Tesla into that, you'll get nothing. You need a 240 to actually charge a Tesla.
You get a half a mile.
If that. You get nothing, basically. What do you think the 0 to 60 time on this is?
It's an EV, so it's going to be not slow. 4 seconds?
3.5.
It's quick. Yeah, it's quick. An EV. We know that's. It's light, it's slippery, and it's an EV. That's what it does.
There's no mass to move. It is 3-wheel drive, and they can do the torque vectoring and all the shenanigans, which is kind of interesting. Apparently, they have some mode in it to allow you to do a donut where the rear wheel... You can do it both ways. You can do it where it pivots on the front wheels and the rear wheel spins.
Oh, my God.
Or you can do it where the rear wheel's locked and the front wheels spin.
That's the most dizzying thing that I will have ever thought of.
And you just turn the front 2 wheels and get them going, and you can imagine it dragging around, right? It's kind of awesome, to be honest.
That's ridiculous.
Top speed around 110 miles an hour. I actually think
flying.
it's limited. They could go faster, but they're not going to because of safety things. You would not want to go 100.
It looks wobbly.
You would not want to do 100. I don't think it's particularly wobbly because the computer is doing all the torque vectoring and keeping the traction control.
I don't trust this.
It's not a Reliant Robin. Okay, it doesn't have the front wheels.
I still just don't trust this. It just looks flimsy.
I know you can see images of Jeremy Clarkson rolling this around town.
Yeah, that's what I'm conjuring up in my head right now.
That's not the situation we're in here. And can you give me a guess on the price?
150,000.
Down a significant margin down.
75,000.
25 to 45.
So it's cheap.
It's cheap. That's their projected price. Remember,
Which means it's 85.
They're not creating them yet, but they are working with some guys called like Minro or something like that. They have another big YouTube channel where they specifically focus on manufacturing. And the way that this is being manufactured is kind of fascinating. It's 4 pieces that come into the plant, and they all bolt together. It is the whole front half, the whole back half, and like 2 other bits.
Where are the 4 pieces made? China?
It's a variety of manufacturers across the world, which is an interesting way to do it because if something breaks, it's relatively easy.
Real quick, she looks happy. I would not be happy driving that.
Why not?
Because look at the thing.
It looks very odd, I agree. But with the coefficient of drag at whatever it was, 0.13, it's more slippery than a fish through water. It's unbelievable. This is an interesting car. What it will do is push other manufacturers to do similar things in the future. Because if Tesla had a shape like this on their car, they get 1,000 miles of range.
Yeah, but no one's going to buy it.
People in California will buy it. Most other people won't buy it. I agree with that. I don't think this is a good looking vehicle.
I would love to see them sell that to one person in Oklahoma.
No. It doesn't make sense for that. And I don't think that they have huge production numbers ready to go either. This is going to be
I just envision the noise this makes.
From what I've heard, with that little coefficient of drag, you don't have any noise. Because noise is energy. It's wasted energy. And all they're trying to do is be as efficient as possible with this. Apparently, when they were in their test drives for this, they said that the car behind them that was doing the filming, when they were done with the shoot, had a whole bunch of bugs splattered over the front of it.
Because it came off of that.
Well,
it went.
The bugs flew over this because it's so efficient.
Yeah, it just whoop.
Right, they create laminar flow around it. There was only 2 bugs, and they were stuck to the very front nose of it. Nothing else had any other debris on it because it all swooped over with the aerodynamics. So it's a fascinating vehicle. Do I think it's going to be huge here? No, not at all. But will it start to move the industry in the way of actually this shape? I think so. I think it will. I think over time cars will turn into this shape because this shape is the mathematical best shape for something to move through a fluid.
I don't want cars built by mathematics. I want them built by an angry Italian that's slightly drunk off a bottle of wine after eating pasta. I don't want cars built by math. I want cars built by Italian guys.
And McLaren is your middle
mustaches,
ground, right?
McLaren is still almost too mathematical for me.
Really? But they're supercars with the computational fluid dynamics put in there to make it all slippery. More slippery than a crazy Italian.
But I'd rather be a crazy Italian.
I agree, but 1,000 miles of range. I've never seen
1,000 ounces of Italian wine. 1,000 ounces of Italian wine pour moi. Thank you.
In a few years, as solar panel tech gets better, as the efficiency of this vehicle's motors get better, this is going to be a real fascinating thing to watch.
And I'm going to move to Italy.
That's fine.
And I'll partner with Isotta Farchini.
So it's either going to be a bunch of these roaming the hills of Italy or a bunch of Ferraris and nothing in the middle.
Correct.
Okay.
No, there is middle. It's called an Alfa Romeo.
Those will die. Or they're not going to stay together.
Well, this is correct. 3 of them will roam the hills.
Okay.
3 of them.
Until those fall apart.
And then
when
when some of the not as wealthy people get their hands on a car, they can have a Fiat Abarth.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
In Italy, you must only have a Fiat Abarth, an Alfa Romeo Quadrifoglio, Glio, or a Ferrari and or Lamborghini and or Maserati. And those are the only cars allowed in Italy.
Aptera didn't make it.
No, God, no.
Okay. That is the Aptera. I believe that is the name of the company and also the name of the car, which is kind of weird. I haven't really figured that out.
I got a Ford.
Yeah, that's kind of odd. So, the Ferrari? I don't know.
You've got a point.
I don't know.
This should be the Aptera La Aptera. Then it would be allowed in Italy.
True. Very true. But have you seen anything as you've been driving around town?
I have seen some things. I have. Real quick, the first thing that I saw was a Lamborghini.
Oh, yeah?
It was not a regular Lamborghini as such, because it was quite exciting to look at. So let me explain to you why this was not a regular Lamborghini. It was matte pink.
Okay.
Not okay. I love it.
Really?
And I know of the owner of it.
I have seen this around town, and I kind of like it too.
I've spoken with the owner a few times. Actually planning on getting coffee here soon. I really like it.
It's a Lamborghini. If you're going to be the center of attention, own it. That's what this does.
It works so well.
Yeah.
It works so incredibly well. It's a Huracan Evo rear-wheel drive. So it's the Larry wild, hairy-chested rear-wheel drive version.
Perfect.
I love it to death.
It should stick out. It should be obnoxious. It should sound fantastic. It should be not practical at all. It's a Lamborghini.
It's beautiful. In that like matte, purplish, pinkish rose color.
Matte, most supercars work for me. I know not for you.
Not all. Not most. For matte Lamborghinis, more specifically, work better than most other supercars for me.
I'll agree that those are some of the best. Yes.
That's where it goes for me. But that is not the spot of the week I have.
Oh?
My spot of the week is something that is an SUV. But it's making my spot of the week because it's the first one I have ever seen.
Okay.
I saw the new Ford Bronco Raptor.
Okay.
Yeah, the Raptor version of the Bronco.
Huh.
How freaking cool is that?
Heck yeah.
Yeah, saw it in that spec, black on black. I got to admit, it does look way beefier than the regular Bronco.
Okay.
Like, the fender flares are massive. I almost think the fender flares look almost out of place, how big they are.
Dang.
It looks like a Dakar Rally SUV.
It does. It's
Like,
a monster.
It's sick.
It's a monster.
I really like it.
I would love to see one of those. And I want to see that next to the Hummer EV.
The Hummer EV is still bigger.
Is it?
Dude, the Hummer EV is bigger than most things on the road, with the exception of a garbage truck.
It's an absolute boat.
The Hummer EV is just goddamn huge.
Yes.
But the Ford Bronco Raptor it's a beast, man. It's got essentially the engine out of the Ford Raptor truck. So it's got that twin turbo EcoBoost V6. It develops 418 horsepower, 440 torques. It weighs 5,700 pounds, so it's heavy. 0 to 60 in 5.6 seconds in an off-road SUV.
Jeez. 5.6. That's shockingly fast for that.
For that thing, yeah.
What the heck?
It's just nuts. I really like it. It's the first time I've seen the Bronco Raptor.
Yeah, I've seen plenty of Broncos now, not the Raptor.
And you can see from the picture, it looks very much more present than the regular Bronco.
It does. With the, what do they call that on the front and the bottom? The rock?
Skid plate.
Yeah, skid plate. That's what it would be. I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah, I want one.
I could see you driving one.
But this isn't my I wish they would have. But I wish they would do the Bronco Raptor 2-door with a manual trans.
It should be that.
That would be the GOAT of SUVs.
Keep the back seats?
Well, a 2-door Jeep has back seats. Yeah.
True.
I wish they did the Bronco Raptor 2-door with a manual trans. That would be the business.
That'd be sweet.
That's not my wish. We'll get to that in a bit.
Okay.
Did you see anything?
I have. So
what did you see?
Happened to spot out and about an absolute classic of a vehicle.
Oh.
That you cannot go wrong with.
Oh.
It's one of those cars that me and you always see, and we're like, ooh, I wish I had one of those.
Mm-hmm.
And it is an Aston Martin.
Ooh.
A 2014, 2015, around that, and it was an Aston Martin V8 Vantage. You can't go wrong with this.
There's not many cars out there that are prettier than an Aston.
No, there really aren't.
I mean, just prettiness alone, Aston is kind of the benchmark.
It really is. Yes. I want one. I really want one.
You can get one.
I know. They are actually falling in price.
They actually have been for a long time.
Yes.
Even a few years ago, you could get a regular Vantage manual trans for in the 30s.
Really?
Yeah.
That low?
Yeah.
Holy moly. This Vantage, specifically a 2014, 2015, making around 430 horsepower, 361 pound-feet of torque, a 6-speed manual. That's what you need.
Love that.
0 to 60 in 4.6 seconds with a top speed of 190. What the heck? You're not doing 190 in that. That'd be spooky. Very spooky.
Not in that car.
No. Rear-wheel drive with a curb weight of 3.6 thousand pounds. Not light, but it's fine because the balance of this car and the driving dynamics are what you want.
Well, no. It's not the balance and driving dynamics. It's looking at it. It's opening your garage and just propping up a chair and just staring at it.
You're probably right. If I recall, the balance of this car is actually terrible.
I mean, I'm sure it's a very fun car to drive. I don't dispute that. But the funness of driving it does not trump the beautifulness of looking at it for me.
It's a fun car to take on a Sunday drive.
Yes. Yep.
It's not a bring it to the racetrack.
And it's funny. I was actually talking to a buddy of mine about some of these V8 Vantages from, 5-10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, they're actually not that hard to work on.
Really?
Who was Aston Martin owned by back then?
Who?
Ford.
Oh, that's right.
So
because of the grill.
You can find a lot of the same parts.
That's right. Because that grill was the Ford Fusion grill as well.
Which always made me laugh.
I know.
People are like, oh, the Ford Fusion, Ford Mustang looks too much like an Aston Martin. And that's a bad thing. Why? Yes, I'm sorry. I look too much like a supermodel. Pardon me.
Right. This one is a 2014 Aston Martin for $70,000 with 10,000 miles on it.
Not horrible, but you could get one with some miles, 40, 50,000 miles, $40,000, $45,000.
That's relatively tempting. What I would do with it? No idea.
You'd look at it. Once again, you'd look at it. Even if it doesn't run, you just look at it. I just that face.
I know.
It's the prettiest face in all of cars.
I do agree with that. There is no prettier face.
God, there's something just pretty about an Aston.
And it was a Sunday drive and an elderly gentleman with the top down just cruising around. Perfect. Absolutely perfect.
Can dig that.
You can do no wrong with that.
Can dig.
Yes. So let's wrap this show up. Do you have, and I wish they would have?
I do. So my wish they would have is inspired by my life and the fact that I'm always in my car. My work car, especially.
Okay.
So I wish that your car could have like a fold-out tray table that would like fold like between the steering wheel and you. So that way, when you're stopped and you want to eat lunch, not when you're driving, obviously. Like maybe it would be, I don't know, if your car is in drive, it keeps it locked or something. But that way, so quick backstory. Let me back up for a second. Around here locally, we have a grocery store that actually has surprisingly good sushi.
Mm-hmm.
And that grocery store does like $5 sushi specials.
Right.
So, have you ever tried to eat sushi in your car with soy sauce? It's very difficult.
I can imagine how that would go.
It's very difficult to do
well.
that. So, my wish would was inspired by me trying to eat lunch in my car. If I just had like a little tray table that would just like fold out from the center console right in front of me between me and the steering wheel, I could just use my chopsticks and have my sushi and not spill soy sauce and wasabi and raw fish all over myself.
It's a good idea. I feel like that's one of those things that could almost 3D print you.
Yes, but I wish it was something that was like built into the car. You see what I mean, though, right?
I understand. I think that the closest thing you're going to come to with that would be any work truck has the massive middle section between the driver and the passenger. Mm-hmm. And there's always clipboards and tools and whatnot plastered on there. And it's huge. There's always a huge section there, basically for them to have either a laptop or whatever they're working on. Mm-hmm. It's almost a desk. You just need that in your lap so that you can eat.
Correct.
It's not happening in the cars that you're teaching in.
It's not, but it would be a great idea.
Yeah. It's not a bad idea. I don't know about a great idea. I'll give you that.
Because if you work in a car all day and you want to sit and eat, it's hard to like eat like leftover Alfredo.
How many people work in their car all day?
I don't know,
Not
but
that
I'm
many.
one of them.
Most people use it to get from point A to point B.
Well, yes, but I get from point A to B to C to Z and then back and forth all over the place.
You're all the way down the alphabet.
I am, and back up it the other way too.
Right.
That's my wish. I wish cars had like a fold-out tray table that folded out right in front of you.
Okay.
Do you have one?
I do.
Okay.
So that Aptera that we talked about, one of its interesting features that I have not told you yet is that there's no radiator. A radiator takes air in, right, from the outside, and it cools the fluid that's running through it. That is way too inefficient for that car.
Correct. That's a hole for air to go
That's
in.
drag. Drag is bad. So what they do is very clever. They actually flow the fluid through the skin of the vehicle and let the air flowing over the skin of the vehicle or the exterior cool the fluid.
That's going to be great when that gets backed into.
That's terrible when that happens. But since it's only 5 pieces, you just clunk and clunk in theory.
Could you imagine? You get like a fender bender. And you're like, it's not bad. I'm not even going to bother taking it in.
No, that'd be terrible.
And then all of a sudden your batteries are overheating and you're catching your spontaneous combustion. And then each cell of your batteries is igniting for a week straight. Mm-hmm. And your 1,000 miles of range is burning away in the driveway for a week straight.
Perfect.
God, EVs are so stupid.
The idea behind it, for efficiency purposes, is actually fantastic.
Yes.
To not have the coefficient of drag of a radiator and have so little heat from the motors and the battery that you can actually cool it with the exterior of the vehicle is kind of a good idea. I don't really wish more vehicles would do it. You have to have a specific vehicle to do it. But I love the idea.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So that's pretty much
it. You're funny.
I love cool tech. That's cool tech. That whole car is just cool tech.
It's tech. It's not cool tech.
What do you mean? It cools the car. It's cool.
Badendence. Bazinga.
All right.
You win.
Let's wrap this up.
All right. That's going to wrap us up for episode 160. Thanks so much for watching and listening. If you're watching on YouTube, please leave us a thumbs up and drop a comment. Let us know. Have you heard of the Aptera? And would you own one? Do you like them? I know my answer. That's for sure. If you're listening on audio only, please do leave us a 5-star rating and a review on your platform of choice. Don't forget also, please do leave us a 5-star rating and also follow us on social. Man, I repeated myself there, didn't I?
I think you might have.
It's been a long day, hasn't it? Yeah. Well, follow us on social, right? Facebook is We Are Auto. Instagram is We Are Auto _. YouTube is We Are Auto. And our website is weareauto.io. So thanks again. Catch you guys in the next one.
Peace.